Do we have any idea how many people are already logged in?
We had about 10, I think Lauren said, who had registered. May
Oh,
have more by now.
I show 7 panelists and 5 attendees, so.
Hey, you're good to go.
Okay.
So Russell's in a holding pattern, I think, when we start the meeting.
Oh, we're all set. We're good to go.
Okay.
So Russell is on. There's Russell. How are you? Okay. Just to introduce, this is actually a non-meeting, but it is a forum that the Economic Development Commission for the town of Groton is sponsoring and putting on. It's something that earlier in the year we had planned on doing a whole series specifically to the plastics, which we're here to address tonight. We did have, just to give you the courses, we had a forum back in November, which was a face-to-face, which was pretty well attended. We went over the overview of everything. In January, the town council actually voted the ordinance in, and we had planned after that on, I think it was the 30th of March, to have a face-to-face where we could actually have a forum for all different businesses impacted to supply with some of the, a little bit more broad than what we're going to kind of touch on for this forum, but mainly the supply chains and you know, the changes that would be coming from it. Of course, COVID hit. So we had to basically postpone that forum and dealt with a whole other bevy of issues, which the EDC has been pretty active involved with, thanks to the staff of the town of Groton that have been great with keeping everyone updated and such. We did send a letter out soon after in March, also requesting the council to delay the implementation of that, and that's where we are today. The delay was from when it was supposed to be in July, but they postponed it out to October 5th. So that date is fast approaching, so we thought this was going to be a good opportunity to bring on a couple of suppliers, because that's probably the immediate need for this ordinance itself is, what are the alternative products out there from the plastics, but more importantly, what are the challenges that the supply chains have been presenting? So I did bring, we had 3 people we tried to, but very graciously, Russell from WB Mason and Jeff Appicelli from, and I want to make, it's ConnRI, is that how the?
Yeah, it's ConnRI, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Right. So to give us some different perspectives, we're not here to sell product or sell suppliers, but we wanted just to kind of get an overview. Also joining me from the commission is Justin Primeaux. He's a commissioner that's been on, but he's also a restaurateur, and he gives us his perspective of what his challenges. And I know he was very good in giving some input because he started instituting some of these changes before there was an ordinance. So just to kind of go through how this is going to proceed, first I have Bruce Lofgren here from the Planning Development, who will kind of give us an overview of the ordinance, what's entailing with it. We've done this before, but we thought it was a pretty good time to do a refresher on that, just so everyone gets on the same page. And then I'm going to have Jeff and Russell give us, you know, as honest of what's going on from their perspectives as suppliers. And then Justin, from his perspective as a restaurateur, and what he's done. And we're going to hold all questions because we're going to get to them. But the way that'll work is, if you have a question, put it down at any time. So if it's for Bruce, Jeff, Justin, doesn't matter. Just put it into the chat. And then Paige Bronk, who is our Director of Economic Community Development, he will kind of be the moderator as the questions come in. And then at the end of all the presentation standpoint, he will pose the question to the appropriate panelist. And we will do our absolute best to get to every one of them, because that's what this is all about. We really want this to try to be the first of several of these types of forums, just to try to get the business community involved with what we're doing also. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Bruce, and then we'll go down the line.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. I am Bruce Lofgren. I'm from the Office of Planning and Development Services. I'm one of the planners for this town of Groton. I also staff the Conservation Commission. So I'm just going to give everyone a little overview of, how we got to this point, some, technical aspects of the ordinance, and then, like Bill said, I can answer some questions at the end if anyone has any. So, background on this, the town council started, or they initiated this process, started considering, how can Groton reduce the amount of plastics in town back in 2018. Their conclusion during those initial discussions was to task the Conservation Commission with identifying how to reduce plastics in town, and they came back to the town council and suggested that a plastic ordinance should be looked at, and we should go through an extensive public outreach campaign, have a educational public forum, and really kind of have the residents and hopefully the businesses kind of tell us, what we should kind of focus our ordinance on, what we should consider banning, and what we should leave out. So with that, that process went on for about 1.5 years. We had some SurveyMonkey surveys. We got some citizen input from that. We had a forum where there was strong public support to ban, several different plastics, and that's how we drafted the ordinance based off of that. So just to, I'm sure everyone knows that, a lot of other communities in Connecticut and the region and the country had very similar ordinances. And what we tried to do as staff was to try to tailor our ordinance to be as closely aligned to other ordinances in different communities. We didn't want to have ours so different than other communities, so be some cross, regulations to make it a little easier for businesses across different towns, type of products. Okay, so just going back, so the ordinance was adopted on January 7th, 2020 of this year, and it was supposed to go into effect, well, I guess it did go into effect on July 7th. And due to the public health crisis and the hardship, the town council enacted a hardship variance on it, which gave an extension of 90 days until the ordinance would go into a full force and effect. And that, like Bill said, is going to go in full force and effect on October 5th. Okay, so who will it impact in Groton? It's going to impact business establishments that provide plastic carryout bags, if you still currently do. Also, all food service establishments. So that's restaurant, full service fast food, coffee shops, cafeterias, taverns, bars, nonprofits, anyone really serving food, drinks, or food or drinks. So what will be regulated? Plastic carryout bags. So I think everyone should be aware that the state did ban or phase out plastic bags starting last year. They're going to be fully phased out in July 2021. Our town's ordinance has expedited that. So as of October 5th, no more plastic bags should be provided in Groton for a fee or otherwise. Plastic stirrers, so coffee stirrers were part of the ordinance. You can still use, obviously, any non-plastic stir, but the plastic stirrers will be banned. Plastic straws. Plastic straws are banned, but we did provide a provision for someone to request a plastic straw. So they're banned in the ordinance, but if you had a customer come in and specifically ask for a plastic straw, you are allowed to provide them one. We did this for a few reasons. One, for some people with health issues need to have straws, so this was a way to try to get around that, and also, still be allowed to provide plastic straws, but you should really only do it if someone specifically asks for one. Polystyrene food service products. So think styrofoam foam products. Those are cups, bowls, plates, trays, hinged or lidded containers. They call them clamshells. Those type of containers are all prohibited. It also goes to coffee cups, but it doesn't go to lids or plastic utensils. It also does not regulate clear plastic containers. They're usually made out of a plastic called PETE plastics. They are not, they're still going to be allowed. So it's not all plastic containers. Just think styrofoam, like extruded foams. Okay, so obviously, you know, because those styrofoam products will be banned, food service establishments will not be able to serve, sell, distribute, or provide prepared foods on those polystyrene food service products. And what's excluded, recyclable paper bags. You can still provide paper bags at checkout. It's up to you as an individual business owner whether or not you want to charge a fee for it. We did not establish, we're not requiring anyone to charge a fee for paper bags. Also, this regulation does not apply to the city of Groton or Groton-Long Point. It applies to the town of Groton. Plastic barrier bags, transport fruit, vegetables, and nuts, they are allowed. Laundry dry cleaning bags are still allowed. Plastic bags that are used to wrap fish or frozen goods in the market, those are still allowed. And also the styrofoam foam trays that you will buy raw meat or raw fish on in the grocery stores, they're allowed. There are allowed. So how will it be enforced? So as I said, the ordinance is going to go into full force effect starting October 5th. We have a blight officer who will be looking into violations, but it will be on a complaint-driven basis. So the way I think it's going to work is if someone were to file a complaint, an official complaint with the town, our blight officer would go out there and investigate. If a violation is determined, the ordinance allows a business 14 days to come into compliance. So if you still have products you need to use or you can't find products within 14 days, you won't be penalized for that, but you do need to be in compliance within the 14 days after the violation is found. After the 14 days, if you're still in violation, the fee will be $150 per offense, and the ordinance identifies offenses per day. So if you are found to be in violation, again, it's $150 per day you're in violation. Any specific questions on the ordinance? Anytime, you're welcome to call me. And again, I'm Bruce Lofgren from the Planning Department. Yeah, I think that's it for the overview of the ordinance.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you for your time of stopping today. I know you got a busy week going ahead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Jeff, and as I said, we don't have any planned script on this, just kind of what the alternative products, what the supply chain issues might be. We're just trying to hear from your guys' perspective of how the businesses can overcome some of these obstacles that are in front of them. Russell, you going first or Jeff going first? Doesn't matter to me.
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I'm Russ from WB Mason. So, Jeff, that was a lot. I didn't, Bruce, that was a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize that you guys were doing on the ordinance. But with this ordinance, WB Mason does have, with this industry, there is a lot of other optional things to use. For instance, let's say the plastic stirrers, you got the paper or the wood stirrers recycled. The paper bags we do get for importing and export. So we have, you know, you have all the different sizes that you can get compared to a plastic bag, but you just have to search for what size that you're looking for to put your product in. You can, I do tell a lot of the restaurants that I deal with paper bags, you can still charge, the restaurants can still charge a 10-cent fee. They'll still be able to make money back. Like a lot of like Stop and Shop or the other supermarkets, they do that 10-cent even with a paper bag. As well as, let's say, the clear plastic containers, the foam containers that would be on the ordinance, you'd probably be able to do, let's say, bamboo or recycled paper containers to put the foods in. I have a lot of luck with that, with a lot of pizza restaurants and Italian restaurants on using the cardboard containers that absorb the grease made from bamboo, all recycled content. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a industry that's growing right now with this ordinance and Connecticut getting rid of the plastic in July of 21. But it's always good to get out and let the restaurants know this. They do, I've seen is they wait until the last minute and they get frustrated. Very much so. It's like, hey, I need this size, I need this size, and I need it by tomorrow. But you know, it's when you're dealing with customers that are going 6 or 7 months beforehand, you figure out what they're looking for and how to get that product. But nevertheless, you're paying a bigger fee. So you might see restaurants having to increase their prices on food compared to what they did before with the plastic bags, because the costs are going to go up, and then the restaurants will have to make their food prices much higher, as seen with COVID on the meats or chicken, etc. during this COVID crisis, because everything is going up in price. That's what I got right now.
Thank you very much, Russell. And Jeff, your turn.
All right. I just want to expound on what Russell said just a little bit. First of all, we as suppliers are having difficulty receiving orders and keeping product in stock from the manufacturer. So when instances like that occur, we have to purchase product from what we call a super jobber. And it may not be the identical product, but it would be very, very similar. So in situations like that, we may not be able to charge the same price. So we may have to pass that on to the consumer. Or if it's less, we will adjust it downward as well. The basic problem is with all of this takeout moving away from foam and plastic is you as a proprietor of a restaurant or a deli or whatever food industry you're in, you have to be prepared to pay double for the products that you were using. Foam is always the cheapest way to go, and that's why everyone used to use foam. But now foam is persona non grata, and now you're going to have to move the products that are just double in price. So you're going to have to, you as a proprietor are going to have to pass that on to the consumer. So that's about it in a nutshell. Getting supplied and being supplied. And second of all, ConnRI's been in business for over 44 years. We do business the old-fashioned way, basically on a handshake. Between myself, the owner, and our buyer, we have over 120 years of paper and plastic experience coming at you. And what we do that other companies may not is, if we can supply you to any certain extent, and you need a product, if we can find it for you and we can be competitive, we'll bring it in for you, so you can be assured that you'll get that product when time comes. And naturally, we deliver next day. And I think that's about it in a nutshell. And one question I have for Bruce is, is plastic silverware being banned?
No,
No.
no, we didn't address plastic silverware at all.
Okay, because you mentioned polystyrene, because plastic can be made out of polystyrene or polypropylene. And the polypropylene is a fork that bends. In other words, you get a plastic fork and you can bend it. That's polypropylene. Polystyrene would be, it snaps when you try to put it together. So that's a wonderful thing, because you wouldn't want to have to use wooden utensils. You get slivers in your tongue.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And Justin, it's great to have you on board on the commission, but I'd like you to put your restaurateur hat on, because I know that we've had discussions on what you've done, and you kind of got ahead of the curve beforehand. So maybe it's good insight for other restaurateurs or food service people that are just starting to wake up to, oh God, this is coming around the corner. So I would like you to share on that.
Well, I would like to also add that not only do we offer next day delivery, we have no minimum order, and we have no delivery charges whatsoever. And we feel as if you're doing business with us, why should we have to charge you to do business with us? We're the exception to the rule. Everyone in this industry, in the food industry, any kind of delivery industry, has some kind of delivery or fuel or some kind of charge added onto the product that you, the customer, has to pay, which means that you have to get that back from your customers, right?
Thanks, Jeff. And it's a good time for me to once again say is the EDC is not endorsing any supplier and promote it. We're just trying to bring these guys here to be able to give you some avenues to look at it and some ideas. So Justin, please share.
Hello, my name is Justin Primeaux. I am a commissioner on the EDC, as well as a partner with two of my family members in a restaurant in Groton, Manana Cafe. We've been open 7.5 years. And I will say, I backed this ordinance when it was proposed. And a lot of other restaurant people questioned me on that. Before I was a business person, I was an environmentalist. And a lot of times my goals and my ideals conflict, but you can find a happy medium. And I will say this has taken work. All of us in business have realized COVID has taken work. And if you can survive COVID, you can survive the plastic ordinance. This is my feeling. I've had issues with supply has been difficult at times with different vendors being out of different things. And you'll frequently find that all vendors are out of the exact same thing. So it's like if one of your vendors can't get gloves, there's a really good chance none of them can. They're all buying from the same pond. So when you do have the ability to get something, I don't want to say hoard it like everyone did with toilet paper in March, but make sure you buy enough to get through for a few weeks. Another thing I've noticed is there hasn't been price gouging necessarily, I don't feel. But what it is we're now looking at different products that are naturally more expensive. And I think Groton's not the only community to be moving away from plastic. The vast majority of the West Coast does not use plastic. Plastic is banned from Cape Cod and Nantucket and Block Island and Martha's Vineyard. It's it's a growing thing. So eventually the price of these products will come down because all the plastic ones are going to be phased out, which in the long run is better for the world. Because we don't need to spend more money on petroleum products, but that's a whole nother story. Am I still on? Okay. We're just moving forward, and you have to adjust, and that might mean adjusting your prices. And between plastic bans moving through more progressive communities and the COVID thing, it could be a cause for inflation. Bill would know more about that than me because he's a banker. But I mean, I think the plastic ban is a very small part of it. I think COVID would have a bigger possibility of that. Thing is, end of the day, do not put all your eggs in one basket. You need more than one supplier. Jeff is great. Russ is great. I also use Cisco, which is great. Performance Food Group, which is great. And I try, like, I bounce back and forth, like, who has what right now? And, like, Jeff has the best selection of bags around. Because paper bags are not cheap. So my neighbor Christopher, he charges an environmental fee for his takeout. Some people just charge a bag fee. Some people just flat out raise their prices. It's whatever works for you. And you don't want to raise your prices to the point where you scare away people, because no one's throwing money around right now. So it's a fine line we're walking, a very fine line. And I know it's not just the food business, it's retail. I mean, it affects any business where someone buys something inside and walks out with it, basically. And that's the majority of businesses other than offices and medical and banks. So it's a challenge for a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. It's something we can get through. This has not been our biggest challenge this year. I mean, 2020 is a year that keeps giving. And just, you need to be creative and look at every option out there. And I'm at the restaurant most of the time. If anyone wants to stop by and talk to me on a one-to-one level with any questions, they're more than welcome to. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Paige, am I seeing this right? There's really no Q&As coming through, or?
I haven't seen any. I have a couple questions. I would encourage people, if they have some of their own, to maybe move forward. I think maybe that's the right tact. Is that okay, Bill?
Yeah, please. So why don't you start it off, Paige? You have questions?
Yes,
I have a question. I have a question.
You can wait, Justin. You just spoke. Paige.
I guess it's to the suppliers. Obviously, it's a challenge for businesses, but at the same time, it's an opportunity. So are there any creative ideas on how we might get lower prices? First thought I had is buying in bulk. Maybe if certain restaurants were to come together and order more than what they normally would do individually, would that affect the prices significantly?
Russell?
Jeff, if you're going to go first, I'll let you go if you want.
All right, thank you. You know, I've been doing this for over 45 years, and no matter what the issue is, there are customers out there that like to buy in bulk. And is there a discount on that? Of course there is. But by the same token, what does that mean? Does that mean that you want to buy the products and take them in, or you want to be serviced once a week or as needed? All that comes into play because every time a delivery truck stops, there's a cost. So Russell's in business, I'm in business, but we're not in business to not make money. We are in business to make money, but marginally. So competition is great, but you as a restaurateur don't want any competition. In other words, if you're selling hamburgers, you don't want a fella opening up across the street selling hamburgers, right? So I guess in the ins and outs of it, as far as pricing is concerned, you have to determine the criteria, how you want to be serviced with this product. And are we the supplier, not ConnRI, are we the supplier going to be guaranteed that you are going to purchase this product and not move to something else? What if we bring in a half a warehouse worth of product and you decide, oh no, you know, we're not going to use that anymore. I can't send it back. And Russell can't send it back. So what are we going to do with it? So we have to have some kind of agreement, not a legal agreement, but you know, a handshake would be good as far as I'm concerned. So it's got to work both ways. You know, you want to reduce your pricing and we want to make money.
To touch upon that, because I know that we've had conversations before, the possibilities of having business consortiums to get together, if that's where you're going, is can you get a group of businesses together and agree upon a certain product? And I don't know how that would work, but I know from our perspective, how the bank operates, because of the number of offices that we operate, is we warehouse our own stuff. We buy the supplies and warehouse it, and then it's kind of divided out as needed over the things. And those are just trying to think outside of going in the future. So, Russell, do you want to respond to Paige's question also?
I think Jeff was right on target with that answer. Dealing with this food industry, the margins aren't high. That's the thing. It's, you know, we try to give the best prices, as well as Jeff does, to those customers. And a consortium is great, depending on if that consortium is going to order this product. Either we keep it in stock or deliver it when you need it. And you know, you might be able to get $1 lower or $1.50 lower, but it's kind of hard because these marginal food service items are not the highest. But we, you know, like Jeff said, we have to make money too. The funny thing is when I deal with a lot of the restaurants with Italian restaurants, and they're all Greek. And if I set my prices on one Greek restaurant, someone will literally find out from another Greek restaurant that my prices are lower than their prices. So it's kind of interesting, you know. It's like, okay, everybody knows everybody in the industry, so you have to watch where you go, you know, or make it known. But it's hard. It's hard. The other one thing I did want to let you know on the bag part of the plastic ban is the manufacturers. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 manufacturers now left in the US or overseas that is making paper bags. So as paper bags might be on a back order, you're getting them from 1 or 2 sources, and that's the only way you're getting them. There's no 6, 7, 8 companies that are making the paper bags right now. So it's hard. And just as Justin was saying, if you're able to get that product, order as much as you can to hold you off for a month or a month and a half, because sometimes that back order literally will take 3 or 4 weeks. For instance, the gloves that Justin had talked about, nitrile, latex, everything's coming from Malaysia or Thailand or China. And these wholesalers that are making the product realize that in a supply and demand in this industry right now, that they're able to get $100 for a case of 1,000 gloves compared to maybe people were buying them for $3.99 for $140 for a case of 1,000. So this industry right now is going crazy where I don't even have stock of latex or vinyl gloves, and everybody's saying, why is it so high? You know, it's like, well, you know, go to, let's say, Restaurant Depot, see what the prices are there, but there's only a limit of maybe 2 or 3 boxes that you're allowed to buy at one time.
Paige, you had another question?
I do, but I do want to follow up. One of our attendees had commented, I think it's relevant to what we're saying. Ron Cook said there would not be enough savings to justify putting the money in storage. It would also have an effect on demand, perhaps driving the costs up. So I think, you know, that there are always pros and cons and maybe unintended consequences as well. Another comment is manufacturing is the issue right now. Buying in bulk is a great idea, but there's not enough space to store it. I guess I do have another question, and it's a follow-up to this, and then I'll defer over to Justin. When might we expect, do we have any foreseeable time frame as to when we might see this shortage ease up? I know it's dependent on manufacturing, but do we see this is going to get worse before it gets better, it's going to stabilize, or do you think it's going to be brighter in the near future?
Can I jump in on that?
Sure, Jeff.
All right. You know, if you tell the truth, you've got nothing to remember, right? So if you're a liar, you got to be very, very smart because you have to remember. So to make a long story short, the issue with product is service. And that is what, as my opening statement was, we do gloves. Let's just take an issue with gloves because everyone's having a problem getting gloves now. So now there's synthetic gloves out there. So the owner of the company, we do business with a Safety Zone, which is down the road. We like to do business locally as much as we can. So what happened is they don't have any gloves. So in his Rolodex way back, he remembers someone who was in the glove industry who was now moved to another company. So he wind up calling her up and he says, Barbara, can you help me? And her reply was, Bob, I'd love to help you. We don't have a glove to sell you because the state of Texas bought everything. So now we have an issue with products coming in from China. Everything is cheap, but sometimes we had an issue once. We bought some product, we bought some paper towels, and they kept coming back. Everyone kept sending them back because they smelled. So we took a bath on that. So we're very, very cautious about buying products from China now. And I think that's about it in a nutshell. It's a hard thing for Russell or Ron or myself to be servicing customers when our suppliers are spotty delivering right now. And that basically kind of encompasses almost everything because there are shortages here and shortages there. And some people are buying in bulk. And we try to refrain from that. Our customers, they would like to buy a lot, but we only give them a portion of it because we have other customers. We don't want them to go without. But bigger companies take the order and usually just send it out, right or wrong. So that's going back to doing business the old-fashioned way, taking care of your customers.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, Russell, any address on any time frame that you guys are foreseeing, or?
I don't know when this will get back to normal. You know, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So I've never seen it this as bad. But it hopefully it'll get back with, I would say maybe by next year. The gloves issue or you know, the bags coming in quicker, as well as right now the big COVID thing is paper clips. There's nowhere to be found of paper clips, or I think you're not allowed to buy paper clips with this pandemic. So that's the new thing that I just found out the other day. Yeah. So we're back ordered on paper clips. So if anybody needs any paper clips, don't ask me. But I think maybe by next year, hopefully it will get better by that compared to now.
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 cents on what I have read and seen and heard is it is all about manufacturing. And right now we're going through a large shift of places trying to pick up. So bags is a perfect example. Now, if it's profitable for a small business, other suppliers will get into the business, but it takes time for that to gear up. So time frames to set up the machinery necessary and stuff like that is you know, it can be a 12-month period of time. Also the changing, even in the markets where we were used to, and everyone brings up China as the mainstay because of production, but the countries of Vietnam and other ones, they're trying to position their workforces and such to pick up some of the opportunities as they see it. But the time to ramp up is longer than the patience of what we are as Americans and consumers, like we want it yesterday. So very frustrating from that standpoint. Paige, did you have a final question or?
I'll hold on for right now. I know we had at least one other that had a question. Justin, I know you.
I think Justin had one, but I just wanted
Yes, I did.
So go ahead, Justin.
Paige, Ron Cook is actually from Performance.
Oh, okay.
And then, and contrary to what I said before, the one place I have seen price gouging is in gloves. That's the only place I've seen gouging is gloves. But my question was for Bruce. Bruce, we've been open 7.5 years. When we opened, I bought a case of plastic stirrers. It's a case of 12,000 plastic stirrers. I have 8,000 plastic stirrers left. It turned out that was not something we really used.
Mm-hmm.
We use them occasionally, but I feel like throwing them right in a dumpster kind of defeats the purpose. So what do we do with back inventory?
Well, I mean, we wrote the ordinance, so so the ordinance became effective in January. We wrote the ordinance to be effective 6 months after passing to account for, you know,
Yeah.
stockpiles like that. But I don't think we didn't anticipate something that would last. I don't know.
Neither did I.
15 more years of stirs. We didn't write that into this. So I don't know. I mean, I can't disagree with your point. Like, why just throw them away? It's the same thing. It's all going into the waste stream. You know, there's nothing in the ordinance that really lets you continue to use those too much longer. I don't really know what else to say about that.
Okay, I was just curious.
Donate them to art classes. I don't know. They still use them.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, maybe you can sell them to, I don't know, maybe you have a friend in another town. You know, who knows? Maybe needs them.
We're not here to get rid of your inventory, Justin.
The city of Groton will take it, you know.
We don't need them in Groton Long Point. All I can say is that. Paige, do you have anything else to finish up with, or?
I just wanted to say one other thing on the straw issue. Justin, are you using any kind of straws or?
Well, we use a paper straw.
Okay, so
that I get from you, Russell.
yes, I know that, but
the Sip and Joy.
the ones
But we don't go through very many anymore.
Because we were actually, I found a lot of straw vendors, like there was spaghetti straws made out of spaghetti or pasta.
Really?
Yes. So pasta straws, because with alcohol, the paper straws are pretty much are not good. But with the pasta straws, they work very well. The paper straws will disintegrate.
I've done very well with the Sip and Joy.
Yeah.
Like, we don't use them a lot in alcoholic drinks unless people ask for one.
Yep.
But like with sodas, they're good
Yeah.
for like 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay.
And drop me off the pasta straw. I want to try
Okay.
one.
All right.
And I would say to that, I mean, that's a whole other issue here of the various products that are out there as alternatives.
Yeah.
But this is a recorded, you know, and I know we didn't have a huge turnout, but it's very difficult for people that are trying to run their businesses. But we will make sure that all the names of the suppliers that we've been in contact that they'll have an avenue to go and ask those types of questions that are specific to their business. So.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to get a copy of the ordinance, Bruce, at all? For what is available and what is prohibited?
Yes, I can do that. I mean, I can send you my talking points here. Also, you can always access it on our town website.
Okay, on the website?
Yeah, front and center. There should be an announcement up there tomorrow with the
Okay,
ordinance.
Okay.
But also I can email it to you if you can't find it.
All right.
Get your contact.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bill, we
Yes,
just touched on a subject a second ago, you know, new products. Someone mentioned that, maybe it was you. And I know there was a reference earlier when we started the meeting. It could have been Jeff that said you don't want to use wooden utensils. Funny story, I actually, on my vacation, I went down to Aruba. And I had luck that day in catching a fish, which is rare. And so the captain arranged for the restaurant right next to the pier. If I wanted to have it cooked, they could cook it. I'd take it back with me to where I was staying. And so it came in the paper clamshell loaded with fish. And they handed me the wooden utensils. And I honestly don't think I've ever used them. And I was very skeptical, but I actually thought that it was brilliant. They were fairly durable. And I would actually say better than the plastic. It cut through a pretty thick fillet of fish reasonably. So that's just one example, but how might people, businesses who want particular non-plastic items, can they come to you and say, hey, I'm interested in buying wooden utensils. Is that something you can get for me? Do you have the ability to shop it around and see if you can locate creative non-plastic items?
We can with WB Mason, or probably Jeff as well. You have many different suppliers selling many different things, and with this kind of the day of the banning of plastics, a lot of companies are going to, let's say, the bamboo or the recycled or the wooden utensils. There's going to be a price to it compared to the plastics, which is less expensive, but there will be a price, and you're saving the environment. And I think that is the cost of doing businesses. You're saving the environment, but you're spending more money on what you want to save compared to using plastic. But yes.
Just from the standpoint that they have it in Aruba, there's a supplier that has it. You know, maybe there's a different reason. And like in Aruba and most of the islands, their biggest issue in cost is offloading garbage and such. So
Yes.
that's probably more economical for them to do it that way. But so there is a supplier. We just need to make sure that if people have an interest to go that route, that we can get them in contact with people that can get it for them. Well, I don't see any more questions on it, but I appreciate everyone's time tonight because, you know, as I said, I always hope and pray when we do these things is that people use us as a resource so they get into the Explore Groton and look at the tape and do it at their leisure and such, and we can provide the contact information if anyone has follow-up questions. But if there's nothing else, I'm going to call this forum to close, and we might be calling upon you gentlemen in the future because these are kind of things we're going to be following up with and do different types of forums to outreach as much as we can, and hopefully the business will give us some better ideas of what direction they want us to do with these. So with that, I will call this forum over. Thank you much for your participation.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
you.